is arriving at Waza. Hello, good morning, and welcome to What and Why First. My name is Josue Batista, and you know me from What and Why First. And today I have a very special guest, Albert Well. Albert Well has been a very patient friend of mine over the last 48 hours, helping me set up this event. And I'm very pleased that he's here with me because we have a very important topic. I think this is going to be relevant to all of you because more than ever, security online and even offline when it comes to protecting your assets, your technology assets, is extremely important. Now, I want to let Albert in a moment to introduce himself, but I must say that I have a lot of respect for Albert, knowing him for a few years. He's an entrepreneur, he's a veteran, he has served our country honorably. He is a brilliant engineer. He has created products and actually hardware applications that we're going to talk about. That is fascinating. And his passion is technology in the context of security. And I think that is great because we all need that. We take that for granted, but I think it's important. And I think for Albert and me being here is fascinating. And please, thank you for joining us now. Albert, please, I want to allow you to introduce yourself and to expand a little bit more as to who is Albert Well.
Oh, I really appreciate your introduction and for having me on your show, What and Why First. I'm Albert Well. I'm a cybersecurity expert. Have several advanced certifications as well as a degree in electrical engineering. So I really do understand how applications and machines work. And that's crucial in breaking down the systems to identify where the problems are. One of the crucial things that comes up in my mind is cybersecurity. Having started with co-founding the Pittsburgh FBI InfraGard right after 9/11, cybersecurity has always been important to me, and helping organizations stay in front of the attackers is always essential, because when you can defeat them without them getting inside, that's a big win, because now you don't have to clean up the mess afterwards as well.
Right. And you mentioned something very interesting, that 9/11, I think all of us can remember where we were, when that happened. And, right. and I think that was a wake-up call. I think we, at least in my opinion, we lost our collective innocence when it comes to how serious it could be. A attack, a physical attack. Yeah. But it seems that now, in my opinion, the threat that we have from cybersecurity, you will agree with me, Albert, is even much greater than a 9/11 in terms of the damage that they can do to our economy, the damage they can do to a business, the damage they can do to a city. right? A whole city can be brought to their knees
And
because
we've seen
of
that.
cybersecurity, right?
Right, and we've seen that. The ransomware attacks alone are crippling organizations. They're crippling the research centers for the COVID-19 vaccine. They're crippling municipalities and major cities such as Baltimore. I mean, you know, Baltimore had a breach last year that crippled their entire network and organization. They lost $18 million in revenue and services and everything else, ended up paying the ransom. But the problem is they didn't eradicate the problem where the attackers got in the first time. And that's the big differential, you know. If you pay for the ransom, the attackers now know who has the money and who's going to pay again, because they're betting that you haven't cleaned up the network enough to understand that they're already inside. Okay.
Right.
And if they got inside once, they've probably been there for a while. And a lot of places don't know that they're already inside, but we can show you exactly how that works.
Yeah. Now, Albert, I'd like to regress for a moment in terms of the audience that we have. So I presume that everybody, in my opinion, everybody must be concerned with security, with cybersecurity. If you are just a user at home, you know, use browsing, you need some degree of protection. But also our topic today is from an organizational perspective, right? From organizations that now are facing a new context, which is people working from home, as I know that is an overused term, as the new normal, right? We always had some degree of, one second here. We always had some degree of working from home resources and people, right? Because we are a very distributed society when it comes to work, especially in technology. But COVID have forced us to actually do that as a way to continue to operate in most cases, and for the survival of the own organization. People have to continue to contribute to the organization. So who should be listening to this message and the vision that you have when it comes to cybersecurity? Who are I presume those are decision makers in organizations, but in your experience, who are the people who need to pay extremely good attention to the what and why of cybersecurity?
Well, I think it's the leaders of the organization, the business owners, the technology officers. They're actually responsible for the fiduciary responsibilities of the organization. They take care of the business, and that in turn takes care of their employees, and allowing them to work outside of the office actually extends the security perimeter exponentially. The issue then becomes the security that you once knew about in the organization is no more, because now we have people working from home with wireless devices that have limited security, if any at all, with wireless access points that allow neighbors or unfiltered connections to come in. And, you know, the attack exploit tree just goes up, because now they've been inside the house. They're attacking the systems that are in the house. They're getting inside the computers that are also going in doing business. Maybe they have business information on them, and they're also getting into the business through the VPNs. So once they get back into the business through the VPN, they're already past the firewall. There aren't any security protections inside the network normally that are going to understand the vulnerabilities coming in. Certainly, the connections for virus scanners aren't going to see some of the attacks that have been well placed already.
Right.
So a new norm has become our normal. And with that new norm, we have to advance our understanding of these cyber attacks, which are not just malware that we know about, but attacks and connections to parts of the world that we may not be talking to on a normal basis, and don't want our information to go outside of the United States because of reciprocity laws and data privacy laws and confidentiality and all of the number of things that, you know, when your data gets out there, how easy is it to get it back? Generally, it's next to impossible, right? So preventing that is what we try to do from day one, as soon as we're connected, by identifying these exploits that have already succeeded, by preventing future exploits to entities that are well versed in creating new ones, and keeping the organization safe. And our new model is not only just looking at the organization internally, but it's also in supporting the employees at home, because the security that's offered to them there doesn't exist in the same format that it does in the office.
Right.
And
no, go ahead, Albert.
Well, I was going to say that the chief executive officers, the chief financial officers, the CISOs, the CIOs, all of them have extreme access, more so than even some employees, but even the employees have access to these individuals as well. So it's a community that extends almost infinitely, right?
Yeah, and I see from your comments, I see at a very high level, I'm oversimplifying tremendously here, Albert, but I see three dynamics here that I think are very important. You know, my grandfather, he never went to a school, but he always was a very wise man. And one time, one of his sayings was, the only outcome of a defensive strategy is surrender. Right. So if your only strategy is to put walls and moats around and put more walls and firewalls, etc., eventually, you know, you're going to surrender to the enemy because you cannot keep up with all the other external advances if you are constrained to only a defensive strategy. So what I hear here, when I get into that in a moment, it seems that this is a proactive as opposed to reactive.
Oh, yeah.
Right? When it comes to security. The second thing that I think caught my attention is that, you know, one of my saying is the future is 3D. I believe the future is 3D. It's going to be digital, distributed, and decentralized. And that is very general terms. And look what COVID have brought: a distributed work environment.
Right.
No power of choice. It is here to stay. I think even post-COVID, many of these business models are going to find efficiencies, and they're going to continue actually to work distributed as they are now. But the result of that is, like you expressed very, very nicely, is that now we're creating multiple points of potential failure and weakness, because each one of those workers now at home is a potential entry. In fact, you share with me in one of our conversations,
right,
they got to some city or some company through an external third party that it was not even directly connected to the company or the city. They used an entry point that was vulnerable outside the realm of the security, right, of the place.
Well, if you remember the Target breach,
that is the one.
We are repeating that network attack that happened through the HVAC vendor. And, you know, they had a firewall and they had antivirus, but they were already infected. So when they connected to Target directly with the VPN, the attackers had unfettered access.
Absolutely.
And, you know, that's what we're repeating right now during this pandemic and work from home scenario. So we have to do better at securing the environment, like you say, proactively, rather than waiting for the collapse or the implosion of the business.
Right. And that is the third point that I think that will be perhaps a different conversation. When it comes to, I don't want to speak for the executives of many other organizations, but I have conversations in the past with, you know, chief information security officers. And I think in my mind from those conversations, I hear two things. Number one, it's difficult for them to show a return on investment on the costs associated with security. Because frankly, it's like an insurance, right? You don't know the value of an insurance until you unfortunately have an accident, and then you see the results of that. So most of the time, they're underfunded. I don't know if
I
you
don't
would
want
agree
to
with me.
really compete with insurance because at the end of the day, if you have a catastrophic failure, insurance will help pay part of the restoration, but you're
Hmm.
going to have cleanup times that extend from 6 to 18 months.
Right.
And can your business actually sustain that decreased level of income while you clean up the problems in the organization to resurrect your business? Most often it's not.
Yeah,
But
I
if
would
we're
agree.
proactive and we're stopping these attacks, then I guess it's more of a proactive insurance than it is a reactive insurance.
Absolutely. And that is the change in the minds of the executives that I think that message has to get to them. And you are doing an excellent work this, Albert, because it's difficult to see immediately the return on investment. Most of these diseases that I have talked to, the chief information security officers,
Right.
of course, everybody's always underfunded, right? Doesn't matter who you ask, they always need more money. But at the same time, even the talent is so difficult to get because there is so much competition, right, for the talent in connection to the skill set that it needs. So that brings me now to the plan, right? So we know who is the audience. We know who needs to be paying attention to this.
Right.
We know the challenges. You more than ever through your career, you have seen the challenges that they face. And now with COVID, it's a complete different ballgame.
Yep.
But now you have a plan, right? You have the experience, and not only the experience and the skill set, but tell me about this appliance, the ITS Safe. What is that, and why should we, dig a little bit deeper into that?
Well, you brought up some very key points and the reason and rationale for us creating the appliance. It's safe, is a security appliance that we offer to manage the security for an organization. And we place it internal to the organization, but also take care of the updates and the rule changes and things like that, that allows the organization to provide a more protective security footprint. Doing this also at the home now increases the security exponentially and eliminates the threats that workers from home have. And the reason why we implemented a security appliance is we can scale that product offering a lot more than trying to implement consulting services to a global audience, because consulting is a hard effort to scale. It's a lot
Right.
harder than producing a product. Um, the benefit here is we're missing 3.5 million experienced cybersecurity professionals in this country. And I call them experienced because, it's great intentions by the organization to stand up a security practice with internal resources, elevating them from the IT department to the security department, and maybe even giving them some training. But in the grand scope of things, their experience level is still near zero. So
Right.
attackers are winning the day against cyber teams without the experience. And what we can do with our It's Safe security appliance is elevate the level of understanding and risk mitigation as soon as we're implementing it.
Right. And Albert, before going into a little bit more details about the appliance,
Sure.
just at the high level, how does that, at least in my mind, I understand, it's an appliance that, at an organizational level
Right.
can provide significant level of activity preemptively to avoid, right? But how does that work at home? What is the connection to, for example, someone like me that is working from home? Would I also have an appliance in my home? How does that work?
Yeah, it would go right in behind the ISP modem, whether it's
Okay.
Comcast, Verizon, or whoever it is. And it would act like a super firewall for them that
I see.
would prevent the attacks from coming in through the internet to their home, and also prevent the infected IoT devices like your
Mhm.
smartphone, your smart TV, your Nest appliance for your thermostat, or your Ring doorbell to allow attacks to exploit your entire network and exfiltrate the data outside of it, thus improving your security. And a lot of people are saying, I'm just a small mom and dad pop shop for $20 million. Nobody's wanting us. And that's the furthest thing from the truth, because what they want is not only your resources and your data, but they want to be you in your environment so that they can exploit others as well.
Right. And thank you for that clarification. That really completes the high level picture in my mind, because it's actually a physical appliance. I like that. I might presume that there is a way for you to monitor that appliance, right? Provide updates. And even if you bring it, if I bring one of those appliances, it saves to my home today, for example.
Right.
The appliance does some sort of, kind of scanning, catch up, finding deficiencies or something like that from the start? Or is there something else that people need to be aware of?
So what we'll do is we'll analyze each individual packet as it comes through the network connection to your devices, and we'll determine what's good and what's bad. The bad connections we're going to drop on the floor so that they don't infect you and they don't compromise your devices. And then the same thing happens from your device back out to the internet. So we're looking at connectivity from the internet to you and you to the internet. So if you had ransomware, or if you had malware that could drag ransomware back into the environment, we're going to know about it and we're going to block the activity so that it doesn't connect to you. And then we'll be able to identify what devices are problematic so that you can fix them. We're going to block the activity, but the threat is something that needs to physically be changed, because you might have to rebuild a server in the office or put on a gold standard OS system to eliminate the threats that are already inside. But we're going to block the bad or malicious activity from happening, thus giving you time to actually mitigate it. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. Love it. Love it. It's a true proactive approach to security.
It's a self-healing network.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and Albert, just one more detail for some of our audience that is watching this video.
Sure.
If they want to learn more, I presume you don't need an installer to go to your home, right, to do this. I mean, there's a physical, like a Verizon type person have to come to your home and then do some sort of installation of this, or it's kind of a device that arrives and you just plug and play, and once it's online, they can start the managing of those packets.
Right. It is kind of plug and play. There's two wires. We are available. We can have somebody assist in installing, especially if we're talking to organizations. Right now, we're not offering it to the consumers direct, but we are B2B. So as businesses decide that they need a solution, whether it's just in the office or if it's dispersed throughout the employee base, we'll come up with a strategy that implements that for everyone.
Fantastic. So I think this is a very viable solution. People should be paying attention to this. If you are from Pittsburgh, it's a Pittsburgh-based company. It's a way to actually nurture the talent that we have here in our town, and it's great.
Well,
now
Pittsburgh is the cybersecurity capital of the world, so it's great to be part of it.
Absolutely. So, Albert, I'd like to share with our audience here your contact information. So I just want to bring it over here.
Oh, absolutely.
Please. It's right now being fed live. I just took a screenshot of your website, and it-security-solutions.com, and it is Albert's information. I can attest to that. If there is someone that is going to take your call, reply to your emails, talk to you, it's Albert. So please reach out. Albert is an extremely valuable resource that, believe me, Albert is going to get extremely busy. It's going to come on a time that it's going to be difficult to get him, because it's going to be plenty of business and plenty of people asking for the It's Safe. But at any time, please reach out. I think it's extremely important. And again, I think you mentioned this is not just for the big, $500 million company revenue, right? It could be perhaps a small organization, family-owned business. You need to protect yourself, because especially if you have a connection to a larger organization. Most companies today do not operate in a vacuum. They
That's
are
right.
typically operating, even though they're small, they're, for example, I know a company that have done business for years, and they are a food distributor, right? It's just a family owned. They're doing extremely well for 3 generations. But they sell to Walmart, for example.
Right.
And Walmart requires for them to have a EDI, an electronic data interchange,
Sure.
in order to do accounts payables, and invoicing, because they don't want to type invoices, of course, they want all that automated. So that is just a typical example of a small business. You may think, well, in a small organization, I don't need that. But at the same time, the liability and the disruption that a security breach can
Right. If that's
cause
your income,
is
what do you
significant.
do when you're hacked, right?
Exactly. And also the liability perspective. Are you safe enough, from that, from a liability? Are you protecting yourself with something like this? Like, it's safe. It is a viable solution even for a small organizations. So I really encourage you to check out Albert's website and his company. I left that card for long enough for people to take notes, take a screenshot of it.
Well, they
So
can
Albert,
always catch us on LinkedIn as well.
Absolutely. So Albert, we're going to start wrapping up. I'd like to keep it pretty much at a half an hour. So we are 5 minutes into the end of our conversation. So I think just as my closing note to this is twofold. I think we know that there are challenges.
Yes.
We know that more than ever, people who are leading organizations have plenty busy. There is plenty of worries. From an operational perspective, they need to keep the lights on. They need to keep the flow of revenue and services out the door. They need to keep their employees safe, right? And from a physical perspective because of COVID, but also from a security perspective, there is a significant challenge there. Your organization has not only a plan, but also an appliance that can be readily available to them.
Absolutely.
So they can immediately, instead of being reactive, being proactive in protecting their assets, their intellectual property, everything else, the entry points to other organizations, to their partners as well. So that is fantastic. And I think if companies do that, I think they, in my opinion, and based on what I have seen from your website and your experiences and the testimonials that you have, I think their future is something they can apply all those resources and worries to something else and leave that security to you and your organization, because I'm confident that I want to be in good hands. Albert, closing remarks.
I appreciate your spending some time with me today to talk about these challenges that most organizations have. The largest thing that I can offer is, we do assessments of organizations all the time. Most of the tools that are available in doing these assessments don't find the activities that we have identified with our It's Safe security appliance. That being said, because we're looking at the packets real time, we can stop it real time and also benefit the organization holistically on top of that immediately upon installation. I encourage you, if you don't buy our appliance, to at least get a security assessment.
Yep.
Security assessments are what every organization needs to have at least annually, and usually within 30 days of making a change in your network. So you remember that Windows has an update every Tuesday, right? How are you protecting your environment from Windows?
Right. And that is, don't get me started with Windows. I have some experiences recently with that, the Microsoft environment. But again, I think again is in my experience, I have seen it all over and over again. It is security. I don't want to say that is delegated to a second tier. But at the same time, I have seen it just for one moment, I just want to give you one experience that I had.
Sure.
I have been in corporate for many years, right? And recently, the CISO, or the Chief Information Security Officer, also have a presentation to do, during the all employee meeting. And the highlight always is how many employees got fooled by the phishing email, right? And I always see that it's like, the idea is basically, look how stupid you are, employee, right? Because You allow this to happen.
Let's go one step further.
And here's the training that you have to go. And in my mind, I'm thinking, gee, it's 2020, or back then 2019. How is that they know every email that arrives? It goes through their servers 100%. Why is that they can apply intelligence to actually determine better than a human whether that email is phishing or not, right? But again, it's the kind of things that they say, well, we don't have enough resources. Well, we don't have enough money. Well, we don't have the skill sets, right? So I think your solution, I think, brings some degree of rationality to what I think is very confusing.
Yeah, thank you, Josue. The real dilemma here is it's not just email anymore.
Right.
It's about activities on the web that you can't see because they're hidden in images, or they're abusing domain permissions by visiting a website like Facebook, LinkedIn, Google, or anything. And these marketers are distributing information through their website networks or their blogging sites or anything like that. I can tell you that we are coming up with our advanced edition for It's Safe to filter all the inbound email for your servers so that it can be more like our spam zapper tool, which has a wealth of time in the industry protecting organizations, eliminating the problem before it attacks your computers.
Yeah, and I encourage our audience to go to the website and check those two products. I remember seeing them, the spam zapper. It brought to my mind, the experience of the typical showing, the employees how, stupid they are because they allow that to happen. And there are ways to prevent that. So
it's built into our human psyche to help somebody. So when they say, oh, I need your help, I got to get access, or your account's been blocked and I need you to do this so that we can give you back access. People always want to help somebody else. And that's part of the human dilemma. And the attackers know this pretty well.
Yeah, social engineering. Albert, thank you so much for this time. I certainly appreciate it. I have learned a lot, about you, about your professional experience. I am so excited about It's Safe. It's something that I like to keep track of it. We're going to do one more event sometime in the future.
That's
once
great.
You have the new version, so we can introduce that to our audience. In the meantime, to all of you, thank you for joining us. I know that time is of the essence. You are busy, and you're spending this half an hour with us. Thank you so much. As I always said, follow What and Why First on LinkedIn. Albert, you also have a presence on LinkedIn and also on YouTube. So I encourage people to follow you as well. Visit your website and your LinkedIn profile. And that is all for now. And so I always say, until next time, cheers to all of you. Albert, thanks again, and be safe. Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too. Hi, I am Josue Batista from What and Why First. I created this video blog to share with you my thoughts about relevant trends in leadership, strategy, innovation, and value creation. If you want to watch more videos, make sure you follow my blog so you never miss any of my new videos with more tips about technology and business. And if you are already a senior leader in charge of making decisions in your organization, and you would like to put some of these strategies in place for yourself, go to josuebatista.com and learn how I can help you.